Welcome in the ring. Welcome in the ring. We are so privileged that so many of you keep joining us night after night, except the weekends, for In the Ring, where we seek to bring you, as my colleague Randolph Critchlow always says, fair, credible, balanced, valid information. We know it is in such scarce proportions of recent that you guys tune in every night, and we are very, very touched and we are heartened by that. We always see that when you come on the ring, when you come in the ring, the price for admission is to share the live stream. We are on Twitter for those folks who are joining us at that end. We want to say just click that like, retweet. For those of you who are joining us on YouTube, you can smash that subscribe button. You can click the heart as well. And those of you who are joining us on Facebook, you can also share. We always love your comments, whether on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook. We always love your comments. You can, and I'm certain some of you are joining us on Afternoon AFC page. Some of you are joining us on my page, Sherry Duncan, Avery Duncan. Some of you are joining me on my profile. Some of you are joining us on the AFC page, on the AFC, in the AFC group, across social media, and we are always privileged to have you guys. And you guys know of late, I always say, I always express my gratitude that we do not take your presence here lightly, because we know that you can be so many other places across social media. Folks, we have quite a few interesting topics we're going to be discussing with you guys this evening. And the last thing I should have done was to get to my notation. All right, so I am set where that is concerned, and we're going to have a few guests dropping by tonight, and we are going to have a great show for all intents and purposes. As you can already see, perhaps from the status in the status column, part of what our discussion is going to be focused on. I want to say good evening to all those folks joining us, like Hazeline King and Myrtle Hines and Sharmila Simon Carter and Denise Mitchell, Brunette Charles and Amigo, Junior Amigo, Princess Daegu, and all the other folks joining us across Facebook. Guys, it is our privilege, and we are happy to have you. I seem to have one of my guests ready to come on board. So let me take, ladies and gentlemen, let me invite Randy Critchlow, Randolph Critchlow, somewhere out there in the world. Randy, good night and welcome.
Right, Sharon. You know the song say we outside with the dogs.
Randy's audio is it's giving us some trouble. I'm certain he's going to sort that out and he's going to come back in.
Wow, wait. All right.
Randy, adjust your audio for us. So Randy's going to do that, and he's going to come back to us. So folks, as we get set for Randy to come in there to adjust his mic, we are going to encourage you guys to continue to share the live stream while Randy adjusts his mic there, and he's going to let me know as soon as that is so. Yeah. So share the live stream, and we are going to start just a second. So folks, it is really great to have all of you. Feel free to let me know where you are joining from. I see Pansy Fields, Altia Galloway. A very good evening to you, Altia. Rowena Cummins, one of our usual watchers. Walter Rodriguez, and so many other, Miss Dubé, Miss Dubé rather, Delon Haley, Onika Fraser from Barbados, Lynette Zephyr, one of my very, very consistent viewers. Let me see if Randy might be ready for us now. And let me see if I can bring in. Randy, are you ready?
Are you hearing me now?
How is your audio, Randy?
I'm hearing you.
I'm not hearing you, Randy. The one night I want to hear Randy, I'm not hearing him. I don't know what is happening where Randy is concerned, but
Hold on. What? Go move.
I am,
No, one, two.
yeah.
It says that my mic is working fine.
Randy's adjusting that, folks. You all are looking great on social media. I don't know what is happening at Randy's. And you see, I tell you how about this cheap phone, Randy, for 2020, you got to get a proper. Randy's hearing me, but unfortunately, I can't hear him. Randy, you want to come out and come back into the stream? Great. So do that, and then we will see how we can do it. Yeah. So, folks, we have Randy trying to join us there, and we have some great information to share with you. Randy and some other folks are going to be dropping by. I see so many of you guys as you come on. We invite you guys to like, to love, to comment, to state your where you're joining us from. State where you're joining us from, and we are going to get started. We're going to get started. You know, we are very privileged to have all of you join us, folks, right across social media. People are joining us on Twitter. People are joining us on YouTube. People are joining us all across Facebook on different pages. And we are trying even to get our link patched through to LinkedIn. We're not linked in to LinkedIn as yet, but we're going to get that sorted out very, very, very soon. Direct Ines, I see you there. All the other folks who are joining us, I see TCCI joining us from Brooklyn. I am so happy that all of you are joining. Debbie watching from Barbados. Diana Pluck watching from Linden, USA. Awesome. And we have Hazel King watching from Linden, and somebody's watching from Linden, USA. Diana Pluck is watching. We also have Alana Henry. Let me see where Alana is watching from. Brooklyn. Alana Henry Harrison. I feel like my pencil, a fly giving me some trouble on the set. Yeah, Alana Henry Harrison is watching from Brooklyn. All the other guys, we're so happy to have all of you joining us from wherever you guys are joining us from. We are truly, truly privileged to have each and every one of you. I am joined by another one of my guests this evening. I am joined, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Miss 𝗁𝗓 𝗵𝗲 in the ring tonight. 𝗁𝗓 is a heavy hitter. Don't watch the size there, don't let nothing about her fool you there. She is a heavy hitter. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Miss 𝗵𝗲 in the ring this evening.
Good evening.
Very good evening. Welcome. Hope your mic is hearing better than Randy's.
Are you hearing me clearly?
𝗁𝗓, I can't hear you too. Well, then I'm guessing it's my problem now.
Are you hearing me now?
I can't seem to hear 𝗁𝗓. Let me see what's happening at my end. It's my problem. I apologize to Randy. Randy, my apologies. It was my problem. Apologies. It was my problem. Let's see if I can hear you now.
1, 2, mic test, 1, 2.
Exactly. Welcome, Randy. This was my problem. Welcome. It reminds me, Randy, this one time my mother called me and she said she wasn't getting her her DVD, this years ago story, to work. And we're going through step by step what needs to be done. And then it dawned on me. I said, Mom, did you plug it in? She said, oh, shucks. She had to plug in the DVD. It worked perfectly after that. Randy, how's it going, my brother?
I'm good. I'm outside with the Dutch dogs.
Good. I see you still in Christmas mode. You got some lights flashing there. Don't be afraid to introduce who you were there. You know, this is in the ring. You gotta attack somebody if blows more than you.
There's the problem. I might get blows in the ring if I tell you what they.
Great, Randy. Randy, what's happening at your end? Let me bring in 𝗁𝗓 as well, who has joined us. Ladies and gentlemen, Member of Parliament 𝗁𝗓 𝗵𝗵 has joined us. also. Randy, what's happening at your end?
Ah, same thing like this afternoon, Sharon. I'm listening to the news right now about these police promotions, and it is really depressing to listen to what is happening in our country and to our country. So I really, Sharon, I'm looking for some sort of light, some sort of hope that things are going to be okay in this country. And I mean, you guys are in parliament and you guys have a big role to play in bringing that hope and a light to the people. But it's more of the same from this government, Sharon. More of the same.
Great. Well, let's talk about more of the same because just this morning, if folks would have read, for instance, Starbuck News has an editorial that talks about how it is more of the same, and the fact that you have, for instance, this Kashif and Shanghai Holiday Knockout Football Tournament that is happening, dubbed the KNS Bounce Back Classic. And there's also another show called the Resilience Show, which were given the blessing by the authorities, including the COVID task force, right? This is Sabbath News editorial, and pointing out that over 100 plus persons are going to be meeting for this tournament. They aren't meeting fans. Fans aren't going to be there, but based on the team size and the requisite staff that accompanies those teams and the promoters and so on, close to 200 persons are going to be part of this. And not only is this happening, but for instance, the Sabbath News editorial points out that the Guyana Football Federation president has said to local sub-associations that there will be no elections in 2020, right? And I would argue early in 2021 because of COVID. And Sabbath News quotes him as stating that no local sub-association will be able to stage elections in 2020 because of the pandemic. And once the health situation improves, these elections will take place under strict control and supervision. So the editorial is pointing out that you can't have internal elections, but you can have these big football tournaments happening. Interestingly enough, with that as well, you have also the Guyana Amateur Basketball Federation. They have what they call a FIBA World Cup is coming up in 2023, and they had applied also to the COVID task force for permission to meet and practice. This is about 12 persons, and they were turned down. So Starbuck News says that, because Kashif and Shanghai has the ears of the powers that be, they are being given special consideration. As a matter of fact, I want to quote one of the paragraphs in Starbuck News. It says that the ugly head of divisive local politics has once again been reared on the local sporting scene. It appears abundantly clear to one and all at this time that Mr. Mohammed, this is a reference to Kashif and Shanghai, who has been rumored to be a front runner for the vacant post of National Sports Director, and who obviously has access to the powers that be, has secured the necessary permission to stage his event, regardless of the potential exposure that possibly 88 footballers might suffer.
Yeah.
There you have it.
Yeah.
More of the same.
More of the same. And let us unpack, sure. Let's unpack. I like unpacking things.
Unpack Randy and Jarita.
Let me just unpack a small suitcase before Jarita jumps in here. But let me say this. Being a young politician, being a young person and a young minister, in some part of my brain, some part of my mind, had some sort of high hopes for Mr. Ramson. Although I felt aggrieved for him that he spent his entire life studying to in oil and gas, and he was chucked into a corner in youth and sport. I felt aggrieved for him because I could understand.
Randy, let me just correct you there. He spent his whole life studying oil and gas. He did a master's, which is a 1 or 2 year program, right, and he was an attorney before that. So people go.
Well, I'm exaggerating here. I'm exaggerating. It's kind of a little hyperbole, but I qualified myself in this, and then my party. Mhm. Party took me here. So I felt a little aggrieved for him, but still I had high hopes as a young person. It was refreshing to see a young person taking up the post of youth and sport. But this afternoon, Sharon, I saw a post on Facebook um, in juxtapose what you have been saying there with the inclusion of politics into the sports, and we see them um, clearly going against the COVID regulations and all these things that are happening now. Juxtapose that as opposed to Ramson posting his visa on Facebook. The minister that is supposed to be looking after exactly what you are talking about seems um, preoccupied with letting Guyana know he has a visa. This is a disappointing thing. This is a disappointing um, part of it. In that, if you are a young
Not
person,
a visa.
it
Like he
just
never had
it,
one. It's never seen come
it
for
is
see.
it is so silly that all of these high hopes that you have for a young bright person, and you believe that they will do something different. You see them doing these foolishness, and you wonder, you know, it is so disappointing and disheartening, Shared. And I ain't even unpacked the sports part yet. Just his conduct. Charita.
I
Unpack, Rika. Unpack.
no, there's nothing much to unpack when we're talking about Charles Ramson Jr. I don't see anything to unpack. There's nothing. For me, I have seen nothing that has been packed in the
Shots
first
fired,
place.
Randy.
You
Shots
tell me it's
fired,
not
man down.
shut. I feel. Listen, if I was Ramsey, I'd feel offended. I'm not packing.
And in
That's
fact, the
all.
woman says that.
I'm telling you.
No, when I saw this morning, quite frankly, we've sat in Parliament with Charles Ramson since the beginning of this Parliament, and there has been nothing brilliant that I've heard from him thus far. He sits there, he shouts out the most insensitive, petty comments throughout the sittings, and like
Yeah.
that's his
Like a peasant child.
responsibility. Yeah, like a child. And then today when I saw that post, first of all, I wanted to know if something was going on or something was said that
You got it. Good.
to cause him to post that. But there was nothing. He just felt as though he got this piece of this piece of accomplishment. Apparently he saw it as some great accomplishment to get that document, that stamp, and he felt like showing it out to the world. And that is very, very sad for
The man
someone
gets
that
a
is
visa.
supposed to be the minister representing young people and all of that. The level of pettiness is unacceptable for anyone in that position. He doesn't represent himself. He doesn't represent Charles Ramson. He's in a position right about now. He's representing young people. He's representing youth. And when you go forward and you project yourself as having that level, that lack of maturity, there's very little for me or anybody else to look forward to coming from that ministry. And I must say, this is not the first time we have seen that level of pettiness coming from Mr. Ramson. He has done it before. I remember at one of his very first posts that he made was so childish and childishly put together. I think he probably got cautioned for it because he took it after. But I'm sure I can pull that up somewhere because you follow the behavior of these people, the arrogance that is displayed when you just give someone a little bit of power. It frightening to wonder what would actually become of these characters if they're actually left with any reins of power for any given period of time. And it's very sad for Mr. Ramsey. And a lot of persons probably had high hopes for him, but I never had any previous hopes to him, and what he has displayed for me since the beginning of me knowing him is nothing admirable. I'm yet to see something to admire coming from him. I don't see any passion in him for the ministry that he represents. I haven't seen the zest, the zeal to go out there and to represent young people from him thus far. So maybe there is something, but I'm yet to see it.
Interesting, interesting. And when you juxtapose that to what Starbuck News is saying here, that Ramson seems to be playing favorites, or the COVID task force seems to be playing favorites. It just gives you, it just shows you the young minister in a total different dimension, because clearly something is at work here, because 𝗁𝗲 and Shanghai seems to be working overtime for this post of sports director. And the young minister, of course, needs something to gloat about. And so perhaps resuscitating the 𝗁𝗲 and Shanghai franchise is what is going to be his legacy when he demits office, because we want to let the People's Progressive Party know that they should not get too comfortable in their borrowed robes, because their tenure is going to be very, very short. And so we see this evolving picture of Charles Ramson, again, as a petulant child. You get a visa from the embassy, you got to put up on social media. And we have seen Ramson's conduct in the National Assembly, as you rightfully said, Jurita. His submission, or his contribution to budget 2020.
All together, it's nothing for anybody to admire, and it's quite disappointing, because I would always say that we hope for a level of politics and a new brass of politicians to come up to actually to bring the unity and the integrity that we want to see in Guyanese politics. But when we see the likes of Charles Ramson and this level of behavior, it leaves nothing to be desired.
Yeah.
It's very, very sad. Like, I looked at that, I saw that when it was posted, and the caption and all is like, what was the caption? Good morning.
Good morning, FC, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that's what it was. Like, could I say hell? What the hell does that mean? What does that mean? Seriously, Sharon, what does that mean? How does that brighten his day? How? We're supposed to go dust off of our visas. put it up now. I didn't know it was something to put on a pedestal or something like that. It's petty, it's childish, it's the most ridiculous to come from a minister. That's what it is.
And I agree with you. The other thing as I have you here, and folks, as we discuss our other subject matter, I'm inviting you guys to share the live stream wherever you're picking us up from, retweet, subscribe if you're joining us on YouTube. But the other story is one to really hold your seat on. Now, in one of the shows during the week, we did tell members of the public of this story of this murderer. Well, let me say alleged, to give him the benefit of the doubt, because you're innocent in this country until proven guilty by a competent court of law. This guy is alleged to have killed a mother and a daughter recently. I think he's Venezuelan or Cuban, one of the two. Cuban, Mr. Rodriguez. And what we are learning now is that the 11-year-old daughter of the woman was sexually active. As a matter of fact, when you read the account that is out there on social media, at least I'm picking up my own from 𝗪𝗏 𝗏𝗏, they say that the police have said, the government pathologists have said that, well, rather the police have said that there was blood seen on the girl's lower region at the crime scene. And so, one is aghast at why an 11-year-old girl would be sexually active, and what would have been the modus operandi for this heinous killing. And we just coming out of that period, MP Finance, of gender-based violence, and we are seeing this kind of level of atrocity, which I said we need to bring back the death penalty, and more so hanging.
Well, Sherrod, I know that I've been following and I read that specific report, and it crawls your skin as a woman and as a mother to even imagine the horror that would have
Yeah.
befallen that little child. 11 years old, an 11-year-old child should be there running about as a child, looking at cartoons and enjoying a life as a child. And to think that an
Right.
11-year-old child had to face such horror is something that no mother, no human being wants to hear about. And but
Right.
it does bring a lot of conversation to the front as how much more needs to be done to protect women and girls in Guyana, and around the world. We're looking at Guyana specifically right now, but how many more situations do we have like this? We just came out of a period where we were trying to bring recognition. Everyone was on board trying to bring recognition to
Yeah.
the fact
Correct.
that gender-based violence against women and girls. And now look
Yep.
what happened just after that. And
Yep.
as parents, I mean, we can say all we want, but you got to come down hard on parents.
Yep.
As a mother, you have to be more observant. You got to be the protectors. You got to be aggressive, and you have to be the mama bears when it comes to your little girls and your little childrens generally, and do whatever it takes to protect them. You cannot just know something is going on and accept, because I don't want to say that, but like there's so much that I'm reading online and following. It's hard for you to say to imagine otherwise, but we don't know the facts of that matter. But we need as a society to protect girls today. We need as a society to protect women and girls that are going through abuse. No more can we depend on persons to say that, hey, well, that's their business and so forth. Listen to me, Sharon. If I've seen, and I often say one of my one of my weakness as a politician is that I don't like to publicize every little bit of good that I go and do, and everybody that I try to help. But I have seen some situations, and this particular situation brought me back to an instance I had with a little girl that I met was in a very abusive situation, and I took it upon myself to go to where she was dwelling, the school and everything. And she was like 9 years old. And when you went there, you found out that the level of abuse this child was facing, and the school had done absolutely nothing to put counseling into place to deal with that situation, although they were aware with it. So I had to go and make sure that that child now was put into a system in which she was getting counseling and all of those things. But that's years ago. But I'm just bringing that situation back because
Yeah.
this now a lot of times you have persons that know or suspect, and I say if you suspect something, it's your responsibility as an adult to bring it to light. It's your responsibility as an adult to make sure that you do what you can to protect that child, because you never know when your own children may need someone out there as their little guardian angel to protect them. You have to be this parent and this neighbor and this friend that is daring enough to confront these people that you believe are abusing women and girls. We are not going to go forward. It's not going to stop unless people put that attitude forward and stop with, oh well, we're minding our own business. My neighbor's girl child's business is my business, and that's how I see it. My children's business, my friends children's business, that's my business. They're children, and as an adult it is my responsibility, if I know that they are in harm's way, to get
Yeah.
them, do everything
Yeah.
in my power to protect them. I don't care who's upset with me. At the end of the day, I stopped another situation. I'm coming down from movie song a night, and there in the middle of the night there was a girl running from a car, a guy grabbing her back, and I don't know these people, but you see someone in danger and you stop the help immediately. Probably 4 o'clock the next morning, because you got to be at the police station. You got to make sure that they do their job and just don't say, oh well, this is a domestic situation and you have to go to the hospital, all sorts of nonsense.
Yeah.
My
And
point
you know, during
my
the
point
discussion
is
we had,
that if everyone takes up that posture to protect the women and girls that are most vulnerable out there, we will not have so many cases of people dying. It is So terrible that you have to bury a little 11-year-old child and her mother because they didn't get help. I don't know if they reached out for help before. I don't know if there's evidence of that. But the fact is that these cases are never, ever isolated to the victims alone. Someone always knows. And that's the fact of the day.
Yeah, and I was saying early on that we were examining the role the police play, because we know sometimes when people report these issues, they're not acted on swiftly, one, and then two, sometimes the police say they didn't get any man and woman story, right? They
That
didn't get any
is
man and woman story. Yeah.
all right. So I can talk about a little about this. There is a policy that the police force have. I think they call it zero tolerance, right? In which every single case that goes before them concerning a domestic violence situation, the police, with the zero tolerance position, should not at any time have the authority. They do not have the authority to say, to accept from the woman that I don't want this story to go to court. The zero tolerance system says that once the woman goes to the police station and lodge a report, she can't go back and say, me want to go to court, he can behave himself. It says that it has to go to court. It has to be before a magistrate. That is that policy, but yet I don't see women taking it up. There's so many things women needs to know when they go to the police station with these matter. When it comes to things with physical violence and physical abuse, if you go to the police station and you make a report as a woman, a female police officer have to accompany you to the hospital, in which you have to get a medical from the doctor, and that female police officer have to write up a statement to accompany the medical from the doctor along with your statement, and that is the file that is being compiled to go before the court. A lot of times, what we realize over the years, and you get the various feedback from women and girls that are in these situations, is that they don't know these things, and a lot of times the case is very shaky when it reaches before the magistrate, because a lot of these things are not followed properly.
Exactly. And we see that too often, where people are aggrieved because the police don't handle the casework very, very well. Quote, don't handle. One would hate to think that they are being somehow not being honest with people, and they are taking a little fleck to lose the file and those kinds of things. Let me bring in some other folks who have joined us. I have Randy, who is joining us back again. Randy, are you there? Randy, I don't know if you were listening to us during that when MP Finance is talking there, but I know you have a young son. I see the chief whip of the opposition, Christopher Jones, is about to join us. Chris has a daughter. Chris has sons, and it is unbelievable that you could have an 11-year-old in a situation where she's sexually active, and this man, Mr. Rodriguez, Joel Rodriguez, would have murdered them in this very, very horrific manner.
Yeah. I wasn't hearing, because my phone went off for some reason, but I wasn't hearing you guys, but I know of what you were speaking, and it's just a horrifying situation, Sherrod.
It's
You hear me?
crazy. It's crazy. Like I said, as a mother, it is something that you don't want to comprehend. You don't want to think about the fact that there are such levels of predators out there. I have to talk to my daughter every single day. I have to bring these things before her eyes and say, these are the people that are out there. These are the level of predators. I have my child I have a 15-year-old daughter, Sharon, and if for her to go to school, I take her to school and I pick her back up from the school myself, because there is such fear in me that you just can't let go of those reins. I don't want to have to face, I don't want no sad story. because you don't know if you
Yeah,
have the
yeah,
mental capacity to deal with any of that, and blatant brutal madness that will go through your mind as a parent if your child is ever faced with those horrors.
yeah. And you know, I saw Nicole Cole join us there, and she is a commissioner with the rights of the child. And you know, she I think put it in context that this is not just sexual activity. This is rape. This
Yeah,
is rape. All right,
yeah.
not just sexually
The
active,
news
but
can't
this is
report
rape.
it. The news can't report it as just
Thank you,
you
Commissioner.
sexually active. A 11-year-old child is not sexually active. You know that's a very very decent way to put over a crime. The child was
Yeah,
being raped. The child was being molested. The child. Those are the words that suits that scenario. You can't just say an 11-year-old child was sexually active. My God.
yeah.
Very, very true. Moving on to another issue, another allied issue, is the whole issue of crime in our country. And I just want to bring you guys up to speed in case you might not have followed it today. But the column in Kaiser News, Peeping Tom, spoke about crime, and I want to just quote a part of that. Peeping Tom said, the headline for the column, or the title of the column, is "If COVID does not get you, the bandits will." If COVID does not get you, the bandits will. And Pippin Tom says there is hardly a day that there is not a report of someone being robbed, or even worse, being killed during the course of a robbery. Life has become a lottery in Guyana. If COVID doesn't get you, the bandits will. He goes on to say that citizens are at the mercy of criminals, Randy and Jericho. They are helpless to do anything about it, and the police are unable to stem the incidence of crime. They said there, Pippin Tom says he is still looking for a detailed anti-crime strategy from Ramson Ben. And we were talking about a little bit about this early on. And he says the police is simply overwhelmed. They're corrupt and incompetent. It's time to privatize policing.
I don't
Thoughts,
know about
guys?
I don't know about privatizing the police shirt, but if only they were an administration that paid attention, you know, I wonder where we can find such an administration that paid attention to crime, had competent people in place, had weed out the corrupt officials, and were solving crime. And if only there was an administration, a government, a political party that could get crime, serious crimes down by 25%. I wonder where could we find such a party, shared? Do you know of any party that could do such a thing? It sounds like a
I think I have an
far-fetched
idea.
idea, right?
I think I have a good
Back
idea.
your memory a little bit. Back your memory, Randy. The
Yeah,
statistics
maybe.
right there.
Right. I wonder where that administration, it was the APNU AFC that we saw the lowering of serious crime. We saw the solving of these murders. We saw a professional police force that wasn't inhibited by political players. And we saw things happening in our country that were moving in the right direction. So we don't need to look far. We only need to look to the APNU AFC and what we were doing in public security. And there's
Yep.
a
I
lot of
mean, this is
talk
this
and a
is
lot.
this is a mere this is a mere few months later, and Pippin Tom,
Yes,
who has never said this before, says now it's time to privatize policing.
yeah. This same government who stood on the sidelines and saw the improvement and talked the AP and UAFC, put a man in there that has no idea about how to solve any crime, how to figure out anything, has no idea about law, and you're going to and believe that crime is going to go down? No. And Sharon, let me say this: the worst is yet to come in Guyana. The worst is yet to come again. If Pippin Tom is talking about robberies now, wait until that wealth gap that is already increasing gets very, very large. When you give
Yeah.
the people at the top the money and the people at the bottom got to manage with the crumbs that fallen from the table, you will see a rise in crime. And then couple that with the incompetence of Ben, we are in for a world of trouble in this country.
Yep, and I think it was MP 𝗪𝗏 who said this week on social media that somewhere, I think is it that will have to be region 2. Yes,
Region
where
2,
a
I saw
policeman was snapped up by some PPP operative who dared to
the
stop
regional
him. I don't have
chairman's
all of
son,
the facts.
if I'm not mistaken. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that's what I read.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that, Miss Finance.
I believe the report that I saw him put out, the post that I saw him make, was saying that the regional chairman's son would have slapped up a police officer, and no
Yeah.
arrest was yet to be made at the time of the post, if
Yeah.
I remember correctly.
It's as if we turn back the hands of time, Sherrod. We just on August 2nd roll back all of the progress that we were making in law enforcement, in public security, in Guyanese having a sense of safety in their own community. We rolled that back. We rolled that back and we brought back the corrupt bunch.
The
And
lawlessness.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
this is
People Tom saying, here People Tom is saying again, for the persons who might be now joining us, that the Home Affairs Minister is yet to detail his anti-crime strategy. This is what, 5 months later?
the anti-crime strategy shared surrounds arresting and charging Father Lawrence and Carol Joseph for forging their own signature.
You
That's what
couldn't
they
put it
are.
any better. You
That is
couldn't
their
put it any better.
anti-crime strategy.
You couldn't put it any better. And those are the things that we are looking at. It seems that some people are quote unquote more criminal than others, because while we see charges and so on being withdrawn from some people, we see another kind of attitude being taken towards some other people.
Sherrod,
And as we were discussing early on, we don't always want to talk about race, but the thing is
mhm,
so blatant.
yeah. Let me say this. I was standing
And
outside of Christopher Jones's home, and I saw an armada, a brigade, a fleet, whatever you want to call it, a whole school
But
of fish of not our police, um, trying to get into Christopher Jones's house. If they had taken that same fervor and zeal and zest into solving murders like the Henry boys, we would have seen Guyana moving forward. People would have felt safe. But this is their crime strategy. The crime strategy is to persecute their political opposition. That's all.
that's,
They have
it's not
no other plan.
it's not persecute, and I don't look at it like that. I don't want to put that word associated with persecute, because their aim and intention is to try to humiliate the leadership in the coalition. Any form of leadership they want to humiliate, to give the people the impression that these persons do not have the power to represent them at any level. That is what they're aiming to do. But it will not happen. It will not happen. There is nothing
Mm.
that could be done to dismantle the coalition's leadership. Upper leadership, second-tier leadership, lower leadership is going to remain there. It's going to remain strong, and the leadership will continue to represent the people. There will be no shattering of those powers. So that's the message you got to put forward there, because that is their intention: to dismantle, to belittle, to embarrass, to humiliate, to make the persons out there feel that their leadership has absolutely no power to go out there and represent them. And that will not happen. They will
Yeah.
not accomplish that task.
Sharon and Jarita, I am sure that you guys on August the 2nd couldn't fathom in less than 200 days that this amount of corruption and skullduggery would have happened.
Couldn't fathom it. Exactly.
And
Exactly. Could not fathom it.
I say this in the context that it is the same old PPP. That is one good thing, that they have mastered the art of skullduggery and corruption. And this is the reason why they will be exposed to every single Guyanese. Every single Guyanese will see them for who they are.
Hmm.
Well,
I think they
that
fail
is
to
precisely.
realize the people. They fail to realize that the base that a coalition represents. They fail to
Mhm.
realize that trying to do things and sideline the representatives in the coalition will have a consequence. They fail to realize the strength of the coalition's base.
Mhm. Mhm. It
And I
will.
think
This
That is
strategy
still
will
their
not
folly.
serve them well.
That is
Mm.
still their folly. Randy, where are we on COVID? We spoke about COVID early in the context of the football tournaments coming up and the unequal treatments of these organizations. But where are we on COVID? Let me bring in um, our colleague Christopher Jones. Christopher Jones is the opposition chief whip in the National Assembly. He's a member of parliament, and he's also the former director of sports, former able director of sports. Where are we on COVID? And then I want to pick Chris's thoughts on what is happening with Kashif and Shanghai and these other guys.
Well, I see that the recent announcement of the Speaker of the House has sparked another conversation about whether or not we can trust the tests that are being given by the ministry, because he would have said that he tested positive again and he was questioning the first one. What I will say though, uh, like I heard our colleague Christopher Jones remarking on this, in that he probably didn't have it in the beginning. I know we're
and
talking about that. We're
right,
talking about COVID generally.
that's very, very serious, a very, very serious thing because at this point in time, when the speaker, when there are news reports headlining that the speaker has tested positive for COVID again, it's not laughing. It is not something to take lightly. You have a nation looking on at these headlines and so forth. What are we saying? Where is the medical expert that is coming forward? What are the medical experts saying? Are they saying that there's a possibility of this? What is
Mm-hmm.
being We don't see anyone coming forward to brief the Guyanese people and give them any definitive
Yeah,
answer as to whether or not
yeah,
this is even possible at this point in time.
yeah,
It's
Where the
yeah,
three ministers of health? Where are they? The three
it's
yeah.
not
ministers of health
And
supposed
you
to tell
know,
us something.
persons
the,
thinking to themselves. The Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health at this point in time, once persons are COVID positive, they allow a time period to pass. And when that time period passes, they give them a certificate that they are cleared from COVID. So you can go back to work, you can do everything because you're cleared and you have built up an immunity to COVID now. And there you have headlines coming out now that, oh, the speaker has tested positive for COVID again. Utter nonsense.
and you
It
know
is not
what? When
medical
when when
experts
two
on this
MPs
matter.
when two MPs were rumored to have COVID, oh my lord, the Minister of Health was out there. The 𝗪𝗵cie, other government operatives, the propaganda team went into overdrive. Now the speaker has tested positive for COVID for a second time. He has made a damning admission that he wants to think he was false positive in the first instance, which
That
means
makes
Chris could
more
be false
sense.
positive, I could be false positive, anybody could be
Everybody
false positive in this country, right? And it just goes by. But the speaker has said, and I'm picking this up from the, what do you call it, news source, that he says four of his family members are now isolated for the next 14 days, beginning on Tuesday. And news source says that the speaker says his wife had the symptoms of COVID-19 around Christmas Day. And, we would know that the speaker's wife was in the National Assembly recently. She had lunch with him a few days ago. And then his daughter joined him in the National Assembly, because the National Assembly is about friends and family, right? So both his wife and his daughter were in the National Assembly. So when I hear about family members being quarantined, and this was the same speaker who was almost bullying us into the dome, into the house, because we were isolating ourselves in another portion of the National Assembly recently.
Chris' mic is mute. Can't hear you, Chris.
Chris, we need your audio. Guys, jump in until Chris works that out.
Yeah, and this has come full circle, Sherrod, because I remember that in that day when the MPs, AP and UFC MPs, or they decided to isolate themselves, uh, and it was as if you're doing something wrong. Now look what has
Because you come
happened.
in the assembly or the live stream can be turned off and all kind. The internet can be
Yeah,
turned
but
madness.
it's crazy because if we're to backtrack and see the PvP has been politicizing COVID-19 from the onset. They have politicized it every step of the way. Even when it had the recount and all of those things, when the place was to be sanitized and all of this, that, oh my gosh, they don't want this, they don't want that. They're just trying to use COVID-19. The PP has politicized COVID-19 throughout. And in the same breath, you see them out there having associating with the public in large gatherings, having different meetings in indigenous communities with people sitting on actually on the fields with no mask on, if I'm to remember that photo correctly. And they're carrying on as though it's not something serious. Now the speaker is saying that he's testing positive again, like we said. I cannot see. I need the medical expert to come forward and give definitive statements on what this actually entails, what is the medical possibility of this occurring, and all of those things. I can't just take these reports lightly because you have a nation looking on, looking for direct answers. You can't just be
Correct.
pushing persons
Correct.
around with information that haphazardly that is being done right now. But COVID is something that's very serious. You don't wish it on anybody. If the speaker and his family's experiencing symptoms of COVID, you wish them well and speedy recovery. And at the same time, we have to get the right information out there.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely right.
This is
And Gordon, in this article from News Source, did ask the speaker whether he thought that parliamentarians, members of the National Assembly, should be tested more regularly. He didn't seem too forthcoming. I think what he said in response was that anybody who feels that they have symptoms of COVID-19 should get tested. But we know that you can be asymptomatic, so that doesn't solve the problem.
hmm
Hmm.
I think Chris still
Chris
has
Michael,
audio problems.
We don't know what.
second time.
What? I want
Chris,
people in the confusion powder here, tall.
I think Chris has to go into his audio settings, man, and change it. Share it is this new platform you're using.
Apologies. You see, Randy, we're trying to bring a better quality program to the
You
public
get
because
shine
we
eye.
believe that it's
Shine eye people call it.
we- Same thing. Same thing. But we really want to offer, and Randy, we've been discussing this, better content and a better aesthetics, a better program
Mhm.
for the people, because we know, and I keep saying it all the time, as my colleague Randy would say, valid and credible information we want for the people, because we know that they are such an absence now with all of the media sources that have got into propaganda mode.
Mhm. Mhm. Right.
I don't know why. I don't know who is sabotaging the
I think Chris should
uh,
just leave
chief
him,
whip.
leave him and come back in. That's what I did just now.
Yeah. Mm.
He's gonna try
Sharon,
that, and we're gonna see what we get.
He's gonna
Yeah.
try that.
Yes, Randy.
yeah. I mean, in closing, because I will need to be going now. But
Oh
but
yes.
yeah. But I will say,
Old people is sleep early. Big people.
I will
Go
say,
ahead, Randy.
Sharon, that we, as we were doing from day one, have to hold the line of battle. We have to continue to do, especially things like what we're doing right now. Um, well, I'm not that young, and Jerry is probably the youngest on this panel right now, or the youngest
Arguably.
looking.
Arguably.
Good genes, right?
But we need to continue to let our voices be heard, and hold these people accountable. Ensure that every single Guyanese know what they are doing, knows exactly what they are doing. And again, looking forward to the information that will come out of those petitions. And let's continue to fight. I mean, the people are depending on us. As I said in the beginning, people are looking for hope. and we have to continue to give them that. They'll understand that we will not be railroaded, we will not be bullied, we will not just stand up and allow you to punch us because we in the ring. I have to throw in that reference, allow you to punch us, but we will continue to fight for the people.
Definitely. Randy, thanks for coming by. I'm going to spend a few minutes with 𝗁𝗏 in your absence. It's your last.
Go right
Have a good rest
go,
of the
go,
evening, Randy.
go right ahead. Jurita, don't treat them too badly.
Or too well. Or too well. Good night, Randy.
Right.
Yeah, I think Chris is trying to come back. Let me see if I can bring Chris in.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
You're on board, my brother. Come to
See,
front.
these little like hack
Yo.
buttons. Sometimes you just gotta
Come
do a
to
reset.
front.
Definitely. All right.
You just jump in. You don't need intro. Just jump in now.
Yeah. If you guys can hear me.
Clear.
Yes, clearly.
Okay, great. All right. Now somebody actually trying to get in on a call, so I have to constantly. Better. Excuse the fro, right? Excuse the fro.
It's
And
good luck.
don't
Which
Don't
one?
worry.
Which one?
So I wanted to add again, as it relates to the Speaker of the National Assembly and COVID-19 being tested for positive for a second time. Again, the medical experts says, in fact, across the world, if they are approximately 1,000 persons who have tested positive for COVID-19 twice, it's a lot, right? The speaker's own sentiments confirm what we knew since the first pronouncement in September, that it was nothing more than a political stunt by the PPP trying to
The fraudulent people. I agree with this. Yeah.
COVID-19. That was the part. And then, as I mentioned too, they had several staff of the National Assembly who were told by Frank Anthony that they are COVID positive and are sent on 14 days isolation. And let's say it was approximately 10 staff members of the National Assembly. All of them were told that they are asymptomatic. And the medical experts all say that, listen, if in any one setting, 10, 15 persons all tested positive for COVID-19, it is a near impossibility that all 15 or all 10 of them will be asymptomatic, including the speaker at the time. So that's why we knew since then that it was nothing more than a political stunt. You had Madam 𝗫𝗓 on NCN and DPI saying that Christopher Jones should be charged, he should be locked up for knowing that he was COVID positive and exposed the National Assembly and all that. And we knew all of that was false. All of that was fraud.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Now here it is.
What can we expect from the fraudsters?
That's what I'm telling you. Now here it is that the Speaker of the National Assembly actually, for the first time, is being tested positive for COVID-19. So this isn't no second bout. This isn't him being tested again and being COVID positive again. This is the first time that the Speaker of the National Assembly has been tested positive for COVID-19. In September, it was nothing more than a political stunt by the PPP. And that is why we keep asserting that when it comes to these fraudsters that have been installed, and it comes to people, to public, and the Guyanese citizen and the people at large, is that the PPP play politics with the very lives of the citizens of this country. They always do. For their own political gain, that's what they do. So they work it out. Whether or not the speaker was a participant in the fraud, that he was COVID positive in September, I don't know. But based on what I read in news source, he himself is questioning whether or not the results that he got was false. So therefore, it's likely the case that he was not a participant in the PPP political stunt, right?
Chris, and I actually want to add at this one because I even know that there are some countries that are using persons COVID clearance that they have, persons that were tested positive and then were cleared of COVID. There are even countries that are using that documentation for free travel of those persons because of how highly impossible it is for those persons to be reinfected again. So for us to have now this whole headlining that persons should be fearing that they can get COVID 2 times and all, it is crazy. And I dare share it. I think we should put some effort into putting together an expert panel team to come and actually have a discussion on what the possibilities are of persons actually contracting COVID-19 again. That is something that we owe to the Guyanese people because we cannot just have persons going out and meeting persons. It's crazy. So that's something that we need to undertake and have looked at as soon as possible.
But also, I think this whole COVID business here is getting laughable because I saw quite recently, just today, as a matter of fact, that there were at least 3 persons who presented fake COVID, what do you call it? Tests, results, right? Fake COVID results, stating that they were clear to travel to a particular area, right? So if you have false positives, if somewhere in this system and this government, people are producing fake COVID results, right? And you have what you're having happening right now in the distribution of the COVID cash grant, the thievery and the corruption of the PPP, where are we heading in 2021? And that is something to consider.
Yeah.
Chris,
You know,
just
I
before
mean,
we
as I'm saying is that I
go ahead, Chris.
go ahead, sure.
No, I was saying just before we go, I wanted to ask
no,
your
I'm
thoughts as
saying
a
is that
former, sports director about this whole 𝗁𝗂 from Shanghai business and the way in which the COVID task force seems to be, and the government picking and choosing who from the sports fraternity they want to give permission to, whether have a sporting activity or to practice, because it's all that in itself too is laughable if the COVID task force is going to be acting in this manner. I mean, is a country we're running PPP or is a cake shop?
Man, it's a cake shop. On the PPP is a cake shop. In our country, just as how we just mentioned that there's politics in the manner in which COVID results are dished out to people, positive and negative, and then playing politics with the health and well-being of the people. There is also politics in sports. It's been that way during the PPP under their administration. Here it is that you have the COVID-19 task force granting permission for a football tournament to be had year end and the commencement the 1st of January, of which you will have in that one space over 300 persons. Outside of the footballers, which should be approximately about 90 persons in numbers, they are also the medical team, the media persons, and who follows football knows that if your team is traveling from Baratika or Linden or whatever, they are fans who follow them. And I don't see any restriction or anyone restricting them from entering the Providence Stadium. Now, here it is that you have the Ghana Amateur Basketball Federation, of which we won the FIBA tournament in Suriname in 2018. And here it is that team will be representing themselves in El Salvador in February in 2021. This is 12 persons. They wrote to the task force seeking permission so that they can engage in practice session. 12 persons. The task force wrote them and pointed out at the measures 12 of the COVID measures that are in place restricts them from engaging in practice. 12 men, 12 persons. they have not been granted permission to practice, even though they are representing their winning what they won in 2018 in February, which is a mere 60-something days from today in El Salvador. And permission has not been granted to them. But at the same time, the same task force grants permission for a football tournament to be had where you will have well over 300 and something persons in one space gathered together for that tournament.
Yep.
Bearing in mind, the very organizer, 𝗁𝗂 𝗵𝗲, is the very individual who have been cited to be or to become the next director of sports of this country. When you talk about politics at play, it is the same 𝗁𝗂 𝗵𝗲 that was seen during the campaign out and about in the fields campaigning on the ground for the PPP. When you talk about corruption and all of that, it is written here. This is politics in sports. And this is how it's been under the People's Progressive Party, civic, and it has returned again.
Friends and family of the PPP.
Correct. And that's why I keep saying, that's why I keep saying the PPP want us to go back to pre-2015. They seem fascinated by that era in our history. They bring back all the old youth tires and all the old youth policies and people.
Got to get back that Ramson.
And you know what is sad too? What is sad too about all of this? I mean, you know, all of the various associations and federation will represent their interests. They're slated for the Upper Demerara Football Association to host their elections. And one of the person who's vying for the presidency there will be contesting against one of the existing executive members of the GFF. When the president of the Football Federation, Ford, was questioned about this, he said that no election can be had at this time because of the pandemic. And as soon as we get over this pandemic in 2021, those elections will be had and so forth. He very adamant about it. Just a few days or weeks after, when it came to the 𝗁𝗂 and Shanghai tournament, the same president of the Football Federation is saying that, oh yes, all of the protocols and the measures will be adhered to and so forth.
Full speed ahead.
He is speaking. Yeah, he's full speed ahead for over 300 and something persons coming from different parts of the country to be gathered together. But for 12 persons, they're about to host an elections, or could even be done via Zoom. He's saying that no, due to the pandemic, it can't happen. I mean, listen. Yeah.
Those boys are something special.
I mean, when I started my stint as director of sports and had to engage all of these associations and federations, and they will tell you about the politics that was at play, and not only politics itself, but blatant racial discrimination as it relates to athletes and various associations and federations that will get funding and some that will not. Under that administration, I can tell you about certain teams that were restricted access to the gymnasium and the Cliff Anderson Sports Hall. They haven't been able to set foot in those venues for over 6 and 8 years. And when they did, they had to pay figures of about $500,000 an hour just to get access. All of that we have to deal with. And just, I think today or yesterday, I saw a post by the Ministry of Culture and Sports page with Charles Ramson walking around the gymnasium on Mandela, and says, and the caption reads that works has commenced at the gymnasium. And I saw one person in the comment section that, hey, what are you talking about? Yeah, those work started under Jones and the APNU UFC administration way before any elections and all of that. So, I mean, listen. Yeah, I think Sharon, you refer to the individual as the Minister of Balls, you know.
Yeah. Minister of Balls, nothing else, my God. And it's not his own balls; it's balls sharing out around the place. Footballs.
Footballs. That's balls. Yeah.
That brings us to the end of our program. Tomorrow is the end of the year. What are you folks doing?
virtual church with the family. We will be at home with my family. My mother and sister will be together. My brothers in Florida, the others in Diamond. And we will essentially be doing a Zoom link up. We're going to put it up on the big screen, turn up the audio, and I'll extend New Year's greetings to each other there. Taking into consideration, again, COVID-19. No one wants, at least I wouldn't want to have my mom infected with that at all. So I will keep my distance. Especially how we were in the National Assembly last week, Wednesday. I engaged with the speaker. And I mean, if it is said that he got COVID for the second time or COVID again, who knows? I could get COVID again too.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
But
No,
I want
do
Sherrod, so we don't have in the ring tomorrow night, I assume.
No, don't. I am rebutting those assumptions. I don't assume that everybody had. I don't assume that everybody got families like yours, Chris, who are going to be doing something. So for the stragglers, I'm going to be here for them, and we probably are going to be breaking the new year together.
Excellent.
We'll probably have a late start to the program. Probably start around 11ish, and so we can break the new year with our viewers, and we can probably get some views of the fireworks wherever they're going to be happening tomorrow evening in Guyana, in Georgetown. So it was my intent to send you with a video camera by 𝗪𝗵 𝗪𝗏, wherever the fireworks happening. 𝗪𝗏, what are you doing for the new year? How are you going to be breaking the new year?
I'm honestly not sure yet. You're putting me on.
Good.
I'm
so
not
you're
too
going to be a contributor in the ring. Good. Fair enough.
I didn't say I'm going to be available. I have to check in to see what I'll be doing.
Good. With the other half. Good. Fair enough. Point taken. So, Chris, I look forward to, I think I'm going to be checking with you some point during the evening tomorrow. Tomorrow evening, 𝗪𝗏, you as well, and some other folks. Folks, we want to thank you all for joining us this evening. We've gone a little over our program time, but we thank MP Christopher Jones and Randolph Critchlow and 𝗪𝗏 Finance for stopping by. It's always a privilege and a pleasure to have you guys, and the public says the same as well. And even though we didn't open up we didn't allow all the folks to step into the ring this evening, we hope that when we do, you do have the testicular fortitude to step in the ring and the intellectual aptitude to do so as well. Until tomorrow evening, we're going to have a late program, probably start around 11 tomorrow evening, so we can break the new year together. We're going to have a late start in the ring tomorrow evening. Until then, do stay safe, guys. Continue to practice your social distancing, wear your mask, sanitize, and all the other COVID protocols are still in place for your health and safety. Do stay safe. Good night, guys. Thanks again.
Good night, everyone.